Oh, I sneezed.
All right, let's talk about indie games. What's up with indie games these days?
Yeah, that was something I wanted to talk about because I've just kind of been noticing that I read an article that said I think it was EA
Hmm.
was trying to say it was going to be more of an indie game company by releasing certain types of games. And of course, there's a lot of counter arguments that EA can't be an indie game company, like they're way too big.
Right.
But it made me start thinking, what does indie really mean? And can a big game company be an indie game company? And then
Right.
just looking at the market, the indie game market seemed to be really saturated. I thought
Yeah.
everybody and their mom's making a game.
Right. So there's a lot of problem there, right? Like the mobile market is completely saturated with junk, right? And
It is for sure.
from big companies that are trying to be like indie games, right? To get to your point, I think that there's a definition of what an indie game company is, but now there's a genre of indie games. It's a
Right.
it's a style of games that a big company like EA can say, hey, let's make this indie style. Well, we can dump as much money in it as we want, but give it that indie flair, right? Let's not go so high on the graphics. Let's be a little humble with that kind of stuff. I think
Right. It's like Republicans in healthcare.
this is not a political podcast, and we do not endorse anything.
My bad.
Uh, oh boy, uh, you might have a little bit of a point, but
Too many old
it's
fashions.
yeah, uh, it's actually it's really disheartening because I'm working on a game with a small team that we have no money, but we're obviously working
You're
on this game.
dedicated.
Yeah, and there's a lot of passion, right? Everybody that's working on the game has a lot of passion. So when a big company comes in and they got these employees that are, been working on other big titles, they don't have that same passion. They're working for the
Right.
paycheck, right? Not to say that all of them don't have any passion. I'm just saying, in general, it's a passionless project. They still probably have deadlines that they have to meet that are
Right.
dictated by the board of directors,
I
which,
completely agree.
yeah.
And I think that to prove your point and just to show how bad it's gotten, I just want to point out Drawn to Death. I
Right,
mean,
which we talked about. We had an episode. It looked really cool, but it was and it had the indie game feel because Sony had a small team and there was no passion. Not to say every
right,
indie,
exactly.
not to say every true indie game is good, but this proves the point of you can't get the formula because you have money. That's not the formula. Super Meat Boy, that game is still fun today, and it was made by two people. Hours and hours and hours and dedication, sweat and tears went
Right.
into
Salt
that
and
game.
Sanctuary.
Song Sanctuary, made by a married couple. Uh, Unbelievable game, and those games don't get recognition. I think Super Meat Boy did, but Salt and Sanctuary didn't. But that game's really deep. Uh, we could name a lot of great indie games, and we can name a lot of great indie games made by big companies that suck. So it's really disheartening, especially for me making games and everything's so saturated because anymore anybody with a computer can make a game, and some of these guys just don't really care and they just want to get products out, and it saturates the market. So
Right.
there's a lot of problems on both sides, but it's really disheartening when you see the big companies kind of taking advantage of where the money is. They think.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy that before, you know, indie games weren't even a thing because you had to go through some kind of publisher because you'd always have to have a physical copy.
And
You would need
licensing.
right, you'd need some copy, you would need some company to be able to send that product out.
Mhm.
To make copies of it. And then now with everything can be digital, you don't have that boundary.
Right.
So like you said, everyone can just make games, but there's no quality control, right? You don't have any CEO or anybody to tell you, no, that game sucks, it's not going to sell.
Right.
So you have the two extreme ends, uh, and very seldom do you find that balance in the middle. I think, like you said with Super Meat Boy.
Right. Fez is another example. But I definitely agree.
Journey. Journey was a
Yeah,
good one.
but again, what company made that game? Who
I
made
don't
Journey?
know. I don't know.
Uh,
Was that made by a company?
I I think.
Let's look it up with our handy dandy notebooks.
Okay, so
We don't actually use notebooks. We use PCs.
that game company, which is I think a relatively small company. Yep. So that's Journey, which I haven't played. I always wanted to, but I have
Pretty
not.
good.
Yeah. So that's another great example of it. It's really neat seeing a game made by a group like that that's so successful, right? Uh, it kind of puts a fire in their belly to make something bigger and better. What was the guy that made Braid, right?
Jonathan Blow.
Yeah. So I think he's creating something new, right? Or no, that just came out. Was that the
Right.
Wit?
Well, I don't know if he came out with the second one or not, but I remember we talked about it before, and it's almost like as soon as he made Braid, it was so huge, that he almost became like a big game company, where he felt the need to stick to a deadline and have a team and
Yeah, yeah. He made The Witness, which is out. I haven't played that. It looks really good. But yeah, I don't know much about him after Braid. I just knew he was trying to work on this The Witness, and I knew he was like at the PS4 event when it was announced because he got the exclusive rights to make his game would be on PlayStation devices.
didn't he kind of get stressed out at one point and want to quit making games or go
Yeah,
into
well, it was
seclusion
after
or
Braid.
something?
After Braid came out, all the reviews really done him in. Not necessarily the reviews, but like the feedback he got. Like people were like, "Oh my gosh, this game's so stupid." Not meaning it's dumb or anything like that. Meaning, oh, this is a goofy game, right? Because you can go back in time and go back. You can traverse time. It was really neat. But he did not take criticism very well. Stressed him out, and I think he wanted to quit. But
You should have gave him one of your wonderful hugs.
yeah,
Those
just
always
one of
make
those.
me feel better.
Yeah. Well, sometimes I don't want to let go. I give you a hug. Um, well, yeah. So let's get the. That got really awkward. I'm sorry. Like I got I got lost in your eyes, and I forgot we were even doing a podcast.
Right, yeah, because my eyes are so dreamy.
They are. They are. Uh, I was just looking at your beautiful red locks.
This is why we get sidetracked.
Oh my gosh. You're
There might be
absolutely
people that actually care about this topic.
Yeah. Well, we care about the topic. That's why we want to talk about it.
Right.
So, we need to get
indie games need to find a balance, and big game
right.
companies need to quit saying they're making indie games. They should
Right.
just say they're making low budget games.
Exactly. Low budget games that have no heart and soul. The
Right.
end. Get big money out of politics, or get big money out of indie games.
I think David Jaffe. I think he titled his game on what he felt the big game companies did to him. He was just drawn out to death. His ideas, his.
Well, he made small games like that before, like. So I mean, I think he's a great game creator.
I agree. I just wanted to fit that joke in.
And it was stupid. Not just the joke, but also you.
Drawn to death.
Drawn out to death. Just like that sip. Okay. Just like this topic. We're done.
We're done. Let's
Not
go
done.
play some Neo.